Okay. Um, don't know how to. There we go. So I've got light, but that's going to eat up my battery, probably. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack, to be honest. So, large groups of people are controlled by narcissists. You have to understand that first. It's not the lone wolf that's the narcissist. It's usually the lone wolf. For example, actually, there's a good example because I was where I was staying. There was a beagling fundraiser. So they're raising money for beagling, and I met the event organisers and sat down and had a chat and whatnot. It was like fox hunting, and they were like, no, not fox hunting. And I met the head of hunt, and it was a really nice guy. Um, and we was talking. He was like, "Yeah, it's gone downhill since I become head of hunt. We used to catch 200 foxes, and now we can catch about one a year." It was funny because he's doing his job properly. That's the point, not from a hunting fox's perspective. But he was like, "What we do is we try to hunt the shit foxes." That's what he was saying. So the ones that go after not just the fowl, uh, but like the lambs, the more expensive uh, farmers. Um, stock. So basically, speaking to him, and he was like, "Yeah. So if a fox has attacked a lamb in a field, the farmer will say we've got a fox around, and they'll go out and they'll beagle." And it's all on foot. They don't use horses, and they'll just hunt the fox down that's been going after the lambs. They won't really care too much about the foxes who hunt on the land so much because they tend to be what you know successful hunters. So they're not the successful hunters they're after. And it keeps the fox population down, and it also keeps the shit foxes, the ones that aren't good at hunting, the ones that aren't good at catching prey, the ones that are just terrible and go after the lambs and things like that, down, and the more successful foxes are allowed to sort of breed. So that's a good example of how narcissists work. Is what they'll do is that's exactly what they'll do. They'll try to, or they will try to uh, focus on you and make either. See, this is why narcissists dehumanize people. They need to, because whereas a shit fox, for example, is a shit fox because it's going after the fallen lamb. It's going after the it can't hunt hares. It's not good enough to catch a hare or catch a pheasant or anything like that. It's not strong enough to take on bigger um, animals as well, and it won't go after fully grown sheep or rams. It will go after the weak. That's quite typical in nature, to be honest. Um, even lions will hunt like that. They'll go after the weakest, or they'll go after the one that's fallen off of the herd. Um, they'll very rarely go after the grown bulls. They'll go after the calves. They'll go after the ones that have fallen over and can't defend themselves. So whereas beagling sounds like a good idea in that sense, it will keep the population of those kind of shit foxes down, which is good. When a narcissist does it, they do it to human beings. They do it to other human beings, and the initial and only goal is to dehumanize them, to demonize them, to take away their humanity, to strip away their humanity, to paint them as Nazis, to paint them as monsters, to dehumanize them, so that killing them, destroying them, is a reasonable course. And the problem is that they become group-wise too successful as narcissists can be, whereby they're not doing what in beagling. There's at least a rationale behind it to stop those kinds of foxes from breeding, so that the fox population can stay healthy. Whereas a narcissist will just chase down someone based on just whatever they decide. So narcissists tend to not go after, they go after the fallen lamb, basically. But they'll do it as a group. So they've already agreed that we're going to go after this fox in particular. We're going to go after this person in particular. Usually because they're a threat to the narcissist on some level. So, if anyone's been part of a play, if anyone's been part of a staged event, then you know that at some point there's a group of people will get together and start coordinating. Those are the narcissists. You'll notice them. It's not the attention. It's not that attention-seeking behaviour isn't narcissistic on some level. We've all got narcissistic traits. But the narcissist will be the one in control. They're the one. Oh, no, you go and stand over there and don't wait. And don't move until I say. Because they like control, they like power. Then they'll write your story out for you as well. So then you go over here, and I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy. Obviously, I'm the good guy, so I've got to win. There you go. How narcissists will will try to write your story for you. But also, because of the way that the system is broken, it's very easy to fall into this trap of being dehumanized, beaten down, and then made homeless. And that's the story they've written for you. And then when you're homeless on the street, it's like I said, it's pretty impossible. And I was saying before, you always meet some guy who's like, yes, well, there's nothing we can do today. I'm homeless on the street now. Is there anything you can do? No, there's nothing you can do today. We haven't got enough paperwork, or we haven't got this, or we haven't got that. So the government won't help you, and they're looking for reasons to not help you. They're not looking for reasons to help you, they're looking for reasons to not help you. So they're not, strained, I suppose. It also feeds into the superstructure of like hostels and hotels and all of that, and the fact that there's homes. People need a narrative, and that's the narrative. That people who are homeless deserve to be homeless because of some kind of wrongdoing. People in prison deserve to be in prison because of some wrongdoing. Having been falsely imprisoned, and having met people who've been falsely imprisoned, as well as meeting people who've been in prison for very valid reasons. Like the other day, I met someone who was an unapologetic, like, armed robber. Who'd rob banks and armor cars and, be a thug, and generally just a physically abusive kind of person. And, up to 12 years in prison he did. So that's like, and yet he was such a friendly kind of person. He only used to hurt the people who'd hurt his family. Seems reasonable, unless you're on the opposite side of that, right? And it's just, you've gotten into a fight with someone, and then they're the bigger. It's bullying. Everything's bullying. Blah 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 blah. And it gets boring after a while, because you're just like, wow, man. People just want to live their lives, but narcissists then exist on a subsistence of needing that validation in themselves, because they built their entire personality about being the hero, or about being the good guy, or about being a justice, someone who's, you know, out for justice. And the rest of us are just trying to live our lives, trying to find work, trying to live our lives, play some games, you know, learn some new things, you know, live a life. Just enjoy life. Like, life is difficult enough, really. If you don't have people around you that are supportive, then it's terrible. The other thing is the idea that, you know, mental health being what it is, oh, you've got mental health problems, that means we're definitely going to, like, abuse you even more. Not like we're going to help you. It's like, oh, right, this is someone we can bully legally now. We can bully them legally because they've got mental health problems. Like, we can lock them in a mental asylum and we can bully them there. I've been put in a mental asylum. It's like, you're not allowed to get angry. Apparently anger equals mental illness. That in itself is so problematic. Anger isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. It's been a bad thing for me. But those are, you know, individual realities. Being angry doesn't really get you anywhere. And the whole point of it is anger can then lead to, like, really bad things happening. But then they put you into a situation where they're doing things to trigger you to be angry on purpose, so they can say, aha, so you got angry. So, you know, it's just trying to browbeat you down into becoming subservient, like a dog, basically. Like, if you show any individuality, if you show any personality, if you show any sort of break in the norm at all, if you answer back, if you question anything, you're beaten down. You don't get to have a say. If you do, you're beaten down. And that's another way that narcissists will maintain pack order as well. Like dogs. So, you know, narcissists will treat the people around them like dogs. You know, dehumanizing people. If you obey, you get a treat. If you don't obey, you get a beat, basically, right? So for someone who's looking for a sense of reality, not necessarily meaning, because there's no point in looking for meaning in reality, but a sense of reality of, like, right, so this is the situation, and you see it as for what it is, and you just see that groups, narcissists and groups, and then you just think, oh wow, the beagling kind of analogy makes more sense, because at the top you've got maybe 2 or 3 narcissists. Everybody else around them they just treat like dogs. Well fed, well trained, stupid, obedient dogs who will be hunting their prey, which is the fox. And the fox will be a shit fox, right? At least that's what the smear campaign is. This fox it kills lambs. This fox is a shit fox. This fox is deserved to be killed. For all of these reasons. Can't even be considered a fox anymore, really, can it? Just a mangy dog, you know. So we're doing the world a favour. We're doing everyone a favour, aren't we? And look, all of my beagles around me agree, and look, all of my friends around me agree as well. It's oligarchy at its worst. And when you look at oligarchs like Putin and things like that, you start to realise what they're capable of on a smaller level, on a ground level, the way that I have existed, under the radar, under the line, you know, a small fish in a big pond. Yeah, it's been pretty shit, to be honest. You know, like, there's been so many instances I've had an opportunity to achieve greatness, and just before I'm about to achieve greatness, it's taken from me by some method. whether it's my own devices, or whether it's a narcissist coming in, or whether it's just a situation that I've been put in is just overwhelming to the point where I can't do what I want to be able to do. An opportunity slips by me, and so forth. And this is life. It's so with the social justice thing, there's this idea that there should be justice, what, for the few or for the victims, because there doesn't seem to be any justice. As soon as narcissists realise that they can use certain tactics against certain people, they'll just start. And this is why with the hashtags movement, it's like you can realise, hey, look at all of these beagles around me. If I just hashtag me too, all of my beagles are going to just hashtag me too. Wow, I've got so much power. Hey, I'm a god. Basically, I'm a living god. If I say go, they go, and if I say stop, they stop. I have all this power with my hand. That man raped me 6 years ago. There you go. Life destroyed. Someone's life is destroyed. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. One of the things, like the Kevin Spacey thing, again, his life is ruined. He is now a gay paedophile. There you go. That's a smear. Is it true? Based on the accounts that the person gave, it's nuanced at best. Because 14 is very young, but I know a lot of gay, straight people who are having sex at 14 with older people, and it was fine. But isn't it just coincidental that at the start of his career in Star Trek, a man who had really had no foothold in Hollywood at all, who wanted to gain popularity, saw a chance to piggyback over someone like Kevin Spacey, whilst simultaneously completely ruining Kevin Spacey's life? That is very typical of a narcissist, of what a narcissist would do. They'll wait and for the right time to capitalize on them, and then they'll play the victim, and then they're very good at playing the victim as well. So there's a lot of tears and a lot of this and a lot of that, and Kevin Spacey's career is ruined forever. Or, for example, over exerting your power, like not realizing that there's certain, like the Louis C.K. thing. Again, with the Louis C.K. thing, it is like, I'm not dismissing the accounts of the people who are saying, it's like, okay, 14-year-old boy being hit on by Kevin Spacey, said, I don't know, girls being invited to the ECK room and he starts jerking off. But at the same time, I've been around people that I've admired, and I've gone into those eyes wide shut, I suppose. And in that sense, in that situation, what you would do, what would you do? Well, I mean, you're not going back to someone's hotel room, to just sit around and listen what they're going to give you a private show. You've already been to the gig, you've seen the gig, this is the after party now, and he's the star of the show. Something's going to happen. There shouldn't be any ignorance. And I kind of feel like the whole point of him, checks and regulations, being a creepy pervert or whatever. Hey team, you wanna go back to my hotel room? Wink. Isn't that, I, as an adult, if I say that to anybody, hey, you wanna come to my place? That's alright. We get, we haven't written it out in paper, and we haven't signed anything of, but we both kind of under the back to your room, after the show, and that was his fetish, that was his kink. And then like kink shaming, like, wow, look how much power you got, look how you abuse it. You're a completely abusive, narcissistic personality. As soon as you realize you have a certain amount of power, you abuse it over people who don't deserve to be abused because they're low hanging fruit, because they're weaker than you. You're not picking on the bullies. You're not taking, like, Donald Trump. Let's take Donald Trump. Pure, genuine narcissist, right? Trying to prove, at least, that he's a good guy. He's not going after the small fish. He's going after the big fish. Because he's a big fish himself. So like, I'm a big fish. Oh, there's some small fish. I'm just going to like bully them. Because you could do. He's like, I'm a big fish. I'm going to do some like big fish things, and I'm going to take on some other big fish. And you see the big, wow, that's scary. I mean, like two narcissists going at it, and both are as bad as each other. You know, Putin versus fucking Donald Trump. Like, wow, talk about your egos clashing. Yeah. But there you go. He's going after Putin. He's not going after, you know, Joe Blogs. And his politics is questionable. But that's the point, isn't it? Like, all politicians' politics are questionable. Like, I don't like his politics. But at the same time, compared to Obama, he's a better president. He's just a better president. You know, making peace with Korea was phenomenal. If you can't see that as an interesting step, then, you know, you've been consumed by that kind of insanity of rage. But mainly, what this has to do with detransitioning is that all of those things are kind of to highlight that during my transition, there were bigger forces in play that I was unaware of, who wanted to use me as the reason why X, Y, Z of whatever their agenda was, to either prove or disprove X or Y or Z. So when it came to me sort of going, well, no, hold on a minute, no, I'm not a pawn in your game. I'm doing this for me. I wasn't transparent about a lot of the things I was doing. I kept a lot of things to myself because I still have a lot of fear about talking about them, like the whole detransitioning from, like, basically going through the process of just transitioning and then going back to male and how that would feel and all of that, like keeping that to myself, because otherwise that wouldn't be an honest transition if I was talking about it openly, and I wouldn't have been getting as much help from certain like groups if I was just saying, oh, this is my plan all along, is to detransition back to being a man after a few years of being a girl. They're not gonna really accept that. But like I said, like, I could have happily lived as a girl continuously. Um, uh, it was always like, you know, leaving the option for me to detransition and how I would feel afterwards, and especially because, again, this was supposed to bring a lot of solidarity into my life with women around me. Transitioning from a woman to a man again is what a lot of trans men do, transitioning from women to men, and then transitioning from men back to women again. So, you know, it's a process, and it's a long process. So my process was cut short, definitely. I didn't enjoy any of my time as a woman. I should have done, but it didn't. Like I said in an early video, that didn't happen for me. I didn't have that, you know, great, awesome time. I had a bad time. And it doesn't happen to a lot of people. It happens to 1 out of 10 people, right? And that's the whole point, because then if your only audience is 10 people, and you're part of that 10 people, and 9 of them have all turned against you, then you've crossed the realm into insanity. So it doesn't matter about what you want if you're the victim of that kind of abuse. So it's like learning to deal with being, not even learning to do. It's like, I bullied as a kid for being packy, bullied as a teenager for being, gay man with tits, bullied as an adult for being a spoilt brat. Even though I wasn't spoilt, like the things that I got, my mum worked really hard to get me, or I worked really hard to get. I earned everything I had. So did she. Work her fucking ass off for little to nothing. To be called a brat because I've got like a Xbox or something like that, but other people are sitting in £1 million mansions, but I'm a brat because I got an Xbox for Christmas or something. Bullied because they didn't like me for so many reasons, and then ended up being bullied by the people who I was hoping was going to be my support. Again, I don't know if this is. I don't know if this records. I think it goes live, and I'm not sure if the video actually is, you can actually rewatch it. Anyway, this is good for me. Yeah. So you want to know that at the end of it you're gonna be okay, but you're not.